A missing woman's boyfriend is feeling exceptionally confident, smug even, that he has just nailed his alibi with investigators. But he's not as smart as he thinks he is.
Okay. So that begs a question in my mind.
All right.
If she's in the truck next to you when he called, why would you need to call her about getting numbers for rental cars?
Because being that way that night we're headed to the house, I just wouldn't, she normally not going to deal with stuff that late. And I mean, I probably didn't even look at the phone to see who it was calling me. I'm sure I just answered it,
But he said you told him that you'd need to call her.
All right.
Why wouldn't you need to call her? I mean, that's an odd phrase for someone who's sitting next to you in the truck. Do you understand? You see what I'm saying?
Yeah, I see exactly what you're saying. I mean, that's what if that right there is what I told him, that right there is what I told him. We wasn't on the phone that long, but normally I would just, she handles all that, and that's what I would do. She's not going to want to mess with that kind of stuff that late. I'm sure I'll probably try to answer the phone really quickly, so that it wouldn't, a lot of times after I get moving, Eli goes to sleep, sometimes he goes to sleep in the truck, sometimes he doesn't. So if you want to call him, you got his number and everything. If you want to call him, you can call him.
As the investigator tries to process whatever that was, he moves on with the questioning. But it won't do any good yet, because the man with all the answers has even more up his sleeve. And this twisted case is just getting started. Welcome back to Crime A to Z, where we detail cases and criminals from their very beginning until well after other reporting ends. Today we're diving into the case of Crystal Rogers, a mother of 5 who vanished in the summer of 2015 and sparked a years-long search for answers. What began as every family's nightmare would turn into something so devious, it'll leave you furious at the evil behind it. The case also brings some seriously heart-crushing moments, and we don't exaggerate, so go ahead and grab your tissues now. And before we get started, we've genuinely appreciated you guys hitting like and subscribe. So if you end up liking how we present this case, please take a quick moment to do all the tapping. We really do appreciate it. And whatever you do, you must stick around for today's Z section, because the last word absolutely belongs to a mother whose savage statement says all the quiet and important parts out loud. Let us go. It was the evening before the 4th of July 2015, and by all accounts, Crystal Rogers was looking forward to the night ahead. She had texted 2 of her friends, excited that she and her boyfriend that she lived with, Brooks Hauk, had a kid-free night planned. That afternoon, she had made a quick stop at Walmart with her kids before heading out to the Hauk family farm on the edge of town, where Brooks's mother Rosemary Hauk lived, and where Brooks had been spending much of the day with their young son Eli. That was the last that anyone outside of that farm heard from Crystal Rogers. The following day, 4th of July, came, and still no word from Crystal. Her 14-year-old daughter Kylie started calling and texting, no answer. Kylie and her mother were like best friends, and they talked to each other every day, so the unanswered calls and texts were unusual. Kylie reached out to Brooks. He didn't respond either. Although it was unusual, she assumed her mom might just be very busy. That evening, Kylie came home to pick up a dress for church. When she went to her mom in Brooks' bedroom and found Brooks asleep, she woke him and asked where her mom was. He told her Crystal was out with a family member named Sabrina. Crystal did go out with the girls sometimes, so that sounded reasonable. By the next morning, July 5th, the silence had spread. Crystal's mother, Sherry Ballard, had been calling all morning with no answer, and so had Crystal's friends and sister. No one could reach her. There was definitely something wrong. Crystal would never go quiet, especially when it came to her kids. Sherry headed to the sheriff's office to file a missing persons report. On the way there, she spotted Brooks at a gas station. A security camera captured Sherry walking up to Brooks' car to talk to him. When she looked inside, she saw that the couple's 2-year-old son Eli was in the car as well. Sherry's concern heightened. Crystal never went anywhere without their young son. She asked Brooks where her daughter was, and he told her that Crystal had left in the middle of the night and that he hadn't heard from her since. Sherry informed him she was on her way to file a missing persons report, and Brooks calmly told her that he thought that's what she should do, seemingly unconcerned that his girlfriend had been missing for 2 days. So she headed off to make the report. While Sherry was at the sheriff's office, Crystal's ex-husband's son called to report that he had spotted a car on the side of the Bluegrass Parkway that matched Crystal's red Chevy Impala. Crystal's dad, Tommy, and brother Casey rushed to mile marker 14. As soon as they came around the bend and the car came into view, Casey knew immediately that it was Crystal's car. They called police rather than touch anything and waited. When investigators arrived, they found the Impala sitting on the shoulder, the back passenger tire low, her keys were in the ignition, her purse was on the passenger seat, and her cell phone was left behind as well. Crystal was nowhere to be found, and there was no sign that she had left the car on her own. And there was something else. Crystal had a habit of always driving with her seat leaned all the way back so she could prop her leg up on the side while she drove. It was how she always drove, something everyone who had ever ridden with her knew. But her driver's seat was fully upright. Casey immediately commented, "She didn't drive this car here." Sherry rushed to the scene as well. When she found out that her daughter's keys were still in the ignition and that she had left her cell phone, she knew her fears were justified.
Her purse was in there, her cell phone was in there, her keys was in the ignition. She don't ever leave her cell phone, ever. She would have not got out of that car and left her cell phone in that car.
The Nelson County Sheriff's Office launched a search. Signs went up across Bardstown, and volunteers came out in force, searching fields, woods, the waters nearby, and any area that might hold an answer. The search went on for months, but came up empty. Law enforcement held a press conference on July 6th, the day after she was reported missing. They confirmed that Brooks Houck had been the last person to see Crystal alive, and that he was cooperating fully with the investigation. Crystal's family, however, made it known that they suspected that Brooks had something to do with Crystal's disappearance.
I specifically told him that day, I think you did something to my daughter. I made that very clear.
Her family noted how Brooks was not among the people out looking for her. According to Crystal's sister, he never once joined a search, offered to help, or do anything for the family. Both Brooks and Crystal's family appear a few days later on The Nancy Grace Show.
We have had a stressed relationship at times, and one of the ways that Crystal has always chose to cope or to deal with that is by going to a young woman's name, Sabrina, that is her cousin, her dad's brother's daughter, whom she's very close to. And she spent the night there on several occasions.
When you say several, do you mean 1, 3, 20?
In the neighborhood of 4 to 6.
Okay,
like that.
Tom and Sherry Ballard, were you aware of that? Do you know who Sabrina is?
Yes, ma'am.
That's my niece.
Okay. Did you know that she goes and spends the night over there when she's having an issue at home?
I've known probably one time.
Right. Some people have accused you of not being involved enough in the search efforts. What's your response?
That is a great question, and one I certainly appreciate you asking me. And that is all of my efforts in searching for her have been done behind the scenes with the Nelson County Sheriff's Office.
Like what?
Detective Snow, who's leading the investigation, and Jason Allison, who's a deputy there assisting him, along with the Kentucky State Police Agency, post number 12. So
well, my question was what you had been doing with them, but let me ask you this. I know that you agreed to take a polygraph. Did you pass?
Because of the way that the lines or whatever were on the thing, they determined it to be what's called inconclusive. I'm not exactly sure what that means, but they did tell me it does mean that I wasn't lying, or I didn't pass it, or I didn't fail it. They just ruled it inconclusive, and that's exactly the way that it stands.
And the Ballard family's suspicion of Brooks didn't come from nowhere. Crystal and Brooks had been together for years, and the family had had a front row seat to that relationship. It had started simply enough. Crystal had been looking for a place to live after ending a difficult marriage, somewhere for her and her 4 kids to land, and she found it in a rental property owned by the Hogs family. Brooks was the landlord. They hit it off quickly, started dating, and not long after discovered they were expecting. Their son Eli was born in 2013. Crystal moved in with Brooks on Glenview Drive, managed his rental properties for which she received $500 a month, and built her daily life around his world, professionally, personally, and parentally. Brooks Houck was, by many standards, a very successful man. He was a contractor and property developer with 3 businesses and 83 properties across Nelson County, valued at around $8.5 million. His brother Nick was a Bardstown police officer, and Brooks himself had actually run for sheriff the prior year, 2014. In a town of 13,000 people, the Houck name was well known. But what Crystal's family had observed over the years was a relationship that looked different from the inside than it did from the outside. Brooks made a clear distinction between Eli and Crystal's other 4 children. He provided for Eli, but made it known that the other 4 were Crystal's responsibility alone, even going so far as to buy groceries for Eli, but not the other children. And things got even worse. In the months before she disappeared, Crystal found out Brooks had another girlfriend. The arguments and tension in their relationship increased, and Crystal started thinking about what her life might look like without him. Nobody had watched all of that more closely than her father, Tommy Ballard. Tommy Ballard was not the kind of man who waited for someone else to fix things. From the moment his daughter's car turned up abandoned on the side of that highway, Tommy made clear that he was not going to sit back and hope for answers. He was going to find them himself. So he set out to finding whoever was responsible for his daughter's disappearance. But while Tommy was beginning to build his own case, investigators were already pressing the one person they knew had been with Crystal in the final hours before she vanished: Brooks Houck. Detective John Snow with the Nelson County Sheriff's Office had already interviewed him once on the day Crystal was reported missing. And by July 8th, he called Brooks in for another interview, this time on camera. He had already given investigators his basic account previously, that he, Crystal, and Eli went to the farm on the night of July 3rd, got home late, and that he had went to bed while Crystal stayed up on her phone. He said she was gone when he woke up the next morning. He had even come in again the next day to be fingerprinted. But now, Detective Snow wanted more than the broad version. He asked Brooks to write down a full account of the events on paper, and Brooks fills 8 pages of details.
I'm going to take a minute here and read through your statement, if that's all right.
Yes.
Get an idea. You might have answered some of my questions already. So.
But I did, I was trying to cover as much as I could. If my writing's not real legible, you just ask them, I can clarify it real quick for you. I broke it down into segments.
Oh, these are the people whose house you were working on?
Yeah, all these right here are people that I'm overseeing, that I'm speaking or talking to. We'll just look at my phone to get my exact times. I got my phone in there, and that way you can build a timeline of all this stuff that I do this every day. So me looking back, I had to know what time it is.
Right.
There's no way for me to remember that. I mean, you'll see the more that you get to looking through there, you'll see how much I've got in my head to try to keep up with.
Brooks is a busy man, and he appears to be giving a full and detailed account of his actions on the day in question. He makes a copy of the statement for Brooks to review, then gets down to business.
Had you and Crystal ever talked about breaking up?
I mean, obviously we have fought just like any other any other couple, but in the last several years, I mean, it's came up, but we've always found ourselves together moving forward. Mm-hmm. So that it's mentioned, but it's never happened, and we've always found ourselves together moving forward.
Okay. I know she didn't work out of the home currently, but had she worked out of the home recently? Had she had a job outside of taking care of the rental property?
Well, she took care of 2 young children, so she did some babysitting there at the house for some extra money. One little boy was about Eli's size, and other was, I don't know how old, but he was a little bit older. And I don't know how long, if it was 8 months or a year, but she had worked at the store up the road from our house for I don't want to say anything discriminatory. I don't want to say if they're not Americans, but they own.
They're Indian, though.
All right, yeah.
Don't have the
I don't want to say nothing.
convenience store.
Yeah, convenience store. She worked for some folks up there. I do not know there. I think it might be Sandy or Sandeep or something like that, but I don't know. She worked up there at that gas station for quite some time, but that's been quite some time ago.
Brooks continues to be more than cooperative, and Detective Snow returns to the couple's relationship.
Well, the reason I ask is because there are some people that she's associated with that are telling us that she had made some tentative plans to leave, like looking at an apartment at that store above the apartment above the store. I'm just trying to figure out if that was something that was ancient history or if that was something that was more recent.
Well, that's news to me. I don't know anything about that.
Knowing that the devil is in the details, Snow presses Brooks on the timeline.
Just so I'm clear on it,
All right.
you got home at somewhere between 5 and 5:30, probably closer to 5, right?
Yes, sir.
By this point, investigators have obtained some surveillance footage of Brooks' movements that day.
And when you got to the farm, do you know if anybody was there other than your mom?
I don't know.
Okay, did you see your mom when you came in?
No, we didn't. Well, we didn't stop up there. We went straight down there we were going there to take the cows.
They continue the questioning and dig deeper into the timeline, getting into the small details of what happened at the farm, while Detective Snow shows a saint-like amount of patience as Brooks keeps taking the scenic route around the simplest of questions.
Now, Aaron he's out there raking hay and stuff. He might very well have done that. I don't know if it was Friday, but he's been out there the past 2 weeks doing hay. And I don't drive the equipment because that's not what I do. Aaron takes care of all that, and he bales the hay, he cuts it, he does all the mechanical work out there. And
Now, who is Aaron?
the person that does all the work out there.
But I mean, is he related to you all, or is he a farmhand, or what is he?
Yeah, he's the city mechanic right up here for the city of Bardstown, the bus garage. He does all the mechanics and does all the inspection reports for the city of Bardstown bus school system.
Right, but how is he connected to your family?
There's no blood relation. We graduated together in high school.
He did?
Yes.
Okay, and so does he get the hay off of your farm, or?
5 of the cows out there that are out there are his.
Oh, okay.
So what he does is, whenever you look at this paperwork, I've got so much stuff going on. I'm not a farmer. I enjoy farming, but I don't farm. So what he does is an added benefit to me. He takes care of all the fencing, all the labor, keeps the equipment running.
Right.
So
When he keeps his cows out.
yes, it's a good trade-off. Absolutely.
For a while, the interview continues without confrontation. But then Snow steers it back to Crystal's disappearance, starting with the morning after she disappeared.
So Saturday morning, you wake up sometime between 6 and 7. I think we decided that Danny Singleton, is that his name?
Mm-hmm.
A guy that works for you, was calling you. He called you pretty frequently. You said sometimes you give him and send him to work on Saturdays.
Yeah.
And that may have been why he was calling you. So you get up between 6 and 7, and where's Eli at when you wake up?
He's next to me.
He's in the bed with you.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So you get up. Does he get up with you?
He's still asleep whenever I get up, but I go to the bathroom and all that kind of stuff, and he's still sleeping there on the bed.
Mm-hmm. And so when you wake up, he's there, but Crystal's not.
She's not.
Okay. And so did you try to call her, or?
Yes, I noticed that she wasn't there, and I didn't know exactly what to think. I don't know what time I called her. Yes, I called her that morning.
I mean, did you call her before you left the house to go to the
I don't
farm?
remember what time I called her.
But do you remember where you were at? Were you at home, or were you at the farm? Or you were on the way to the farm? I don't know, somewhere in between.
I don't recall. I don't know.
That's fair enough.
He tries to get Brooks to divulge the kind of small, everyday details that tend to separate a real memory from a rehearsed version.
Before you go to the farm, you feed Eli breakfast?
I did not before we got there. I normally get those squeezable yogurts, all them vitamins and minerals and stuff in it, and he likes to eat stuff like that for breakfast, and it's easy. He can do that in his car seat or whatever he's got to do.
So you think he was eating on the way to the farm?
I don't think he was. I know he was.
Okay.
Now, how much of the yogurt he ate, I don't know.
I'm not worried about that. It's not a question of what he ate or how much he ate. I'm just trying to establish.
Well, he's a healthy boy. I
had
tell you.
a behavior from that weekend, and here's why. I'll be honest with you. I have been all along. Will continue to be. If I woke up on a Saturday morning and my wife wasn't with me in the bed, as is normal, which might not be normal for you, I don't know, but for me, it would be normal, particularly if my wife's a late sleeper, which mine is as well on Saturdays, for her to be there in the bed when I get up. So if she were not, probably the first thing I would do would be to call her to find out where she was.
Brooks is way ahead of him.
But what you're not aware, what you're missing is a lot of times that her and Brooke, her sister, or Sabrina, a lot of these girls that they do all these, they go out and do stuff. Sometimes they do these, and this is going to be embarrassing for me to talk to you about, but I'm wanting to get everything cleared up as quickly as I can. They do these fantasy parties, and all these girls get together. They talk about and do whatever, and it's not uncommon for them when they go out and party, they stay out the better part of the night, if not the whole night. So, and of course, I always have the children, during that, they don't take the kids to that. Matter of fact, I take care of some of their other children while they're the ones going. It's not uncommon because they know I don't get into all that stuff, and they know that I'm a man, don't get me wrong. Understand that, a white-blooded American male, and there's no sense, I'm not telling you anything different, but they do all these parties and order all this stuff. Well, who gets the kids? I'm good enough to get the kids for all this, and I'm a good enough person to do that. And then when everybody sees a little bit of distress, they're going to throw me under the bus. They need to re-examine all these other actions, and I can understand the family wanting to vent and stress, and it makes perfect sense to me. But these people know me. Now, I've got a little boy who's 2, who's going to grow up his life. If something's not done where she's not brought back safely, now one of the very most important people in his life, he's got to grow up without.
Right.
You see what I'm saying? And I'm in here answering a bunch of bullshit that I'm doing the best that I can possibly do with, but it's taking a lot of energy and effort away from the other efforts that could be out there trying to help and bring her back here safely. I can't even go out on the side of the road without looking like a murderer.
He goes on to describe how he has been targeted.
Well, then do what you got to do. I'll do whatever I can, but this is starting to get silly. I don't need an attorney. I haven't asked for an attorney. I don't need none of that. I'm innocent. I'm willing to talk to whoever. But this to me is really starting to get silly, because I feel like, I don't have a Facebook page. I don't have time to get on the internet. I don't know a lot about computers. Crystal did all that for me. I didn't have to do it because that's something else that she always took care of. So now I have people coming back to me telling me that they're completely trashing me online for the whole media. I've taken 17 years of my life, and I feel like I've worked hard to get a good education. I worked hard all these years. I've built a nice life for me and my family, and now my whole family's name is trashed for something that's completely not even tied to me. That's where I'm at right now. So I'm extremely upset. I'm hurt over it. I try to put on a tough shell on the bubble and move forward. It's extremely difficult to get up in the morning and push on and look at Eli and know that here I've got a million things going on that I have to get done. And then who's going to suffer? He is. And it's not right. I'm ready to hire an auctioneer to sell all this stuff so I can be there for him like Chris. What else do you want to know?
Take me this on.
Snow gives Brooks a moment, then calls him on an inconsistency. Crystal had texted her friend Christina, saying she and Brooks had gotten a babysitter and were going to have a kid-free evening. But Brooks disagreed.
But as far as you know, you all did not have plans for a babysitter that night.
No,
Friday
absolutely
night.
no.
The plan was all along for you guys to go to the farm.
Yes.
Okay.
And then Snow notices something else. A phone call that took place on the night Crystal disappeared. He goes to get Brooks' phone to look up the number.
Okay, we get that number in.
Yeah, go right ahead. Do what you gotta do.
Looks like you got a couple of messages. I don't know how to do that. I've got an Apple phone, so just
You just want to put the number in, right?
or check contacts or however you do it to see who it is. Yeah.
492-1390. Just call it. Oh, Steve Lawson.
Okay. Who is Steve Lawson?
He's seems like works for me.
The call lasted just 13 short seconds and is from someone named Steve Lawson, a man who works for Brooks. Brooks takes it further and actually calls the number.
Hey, Steve. Hey, I can't hear you real good. I'm gonna ask you to speak up a little bit, okay?
Okay, sir. I just want to tell you I'm sorry about everything that's going on in your life, brother, and I got you in my prayers.
I said it is a very difficult and trying time, but I appreciate you saying that. But hey, I need your help while I got you on the phone here. Do you remember the other night you called me really, really late, and I forgot what you asked me. Can you? I guess it wasn't on the phone. I might have been tired. I know it was pretty late at night. Can you remember what you asked me or what you were after? I can't remember.
Yes, sir, I can. I called to ask you for them numbers for a house.
Oh, for a rental house.
Yes, sir.
And what did I forgot? What did I tell you?
You told me that you would call. What's her name? Katie or whatever. She handles all that.
Crystal.
Crystal. Okay, I apologize.
Yeah.
And she said she handles all that, and that you would get back with me on it.
All right. Thank you so much. Now.
Hey, if there's anything I can do, you give me a call.
Thank you. You have a good night now.
Yes, sir. God bless you.
Thank you.
Okay. So that begs a question in my mind.
All right.
If she's in the truck next to you when he called, why would you need to call her about getting numbers for rental?
Because being that way that night we're headed to the house, I just wouldn't. She was not going to deal with stuff that late. And I mean, I probably didn't even look at the phone to see who it was calling me. I'm sure I just answered it.
But he said you told him that you'd need to call her.
All right.
Why would you need to call her? I mean, that's an odd phrase for someone who's sitting next to you in the truck. Do you understand? You see what I'm saying?
Yeah, I see exactly what you're saying. I mean, that's if that right there is what I told him, that right there is what I told him. We wasn't on the phone that long, but normally I would just, she handles all that, and that's what I would do. She's not going to want to mess with that kind of stuff that late. I'm sure I'll probably try to answer the phone really quickly, so that it wouldn't, a lot of times after I get moving, Eli goes to sleep, sometimes he goes to sleep in the truck, sometimes he doesn't. So if you want to call him, you got his number and everything. If you want to call him, you can call him.
After that explanation, Snow does not rush to fill the silence.
What do you think?
I'm shocked. I do not know.
As the interview went on, it was not just Brooks's words that drew attention. At one point during the interview, Detective Snow said he noticed Brooks fiddling with something in his pocket. According to the case records, that something was a voice recorder Brooks had purchased just 2 days after Crystal disappeared, when he walked into the Bardstown Radio Shack and asked for the best one they had. The store owner later printed a photo of Brooks standing there with Eli, holding it, and eventually turned that over to the FBI. That didn't prove guilt, but it was suspicious, and while carrying a recorder into the interview didn't help his case, it would become part of an even bigger problem later. And then, in the middle of all of that, the interview took another turn. Instead of placing a call, this time Brooks received an incoming call on his phone.
Can I get this?
Sure, boy. Yes.
Hello? No. I'm up here. I know that you didn't know. I'm up here in this interview with the Detective Snow.
It was his brother Nick Hauk, a Bardstown police officer.
I've been up here a good little while. I'm filling out this statement here and everything. Are you telling me that's what I need to do? I know that, but the way that I look at it is I'm innocent. I ain't done nothing wrong. I know you told me innocent people got jammed up, but if you're telling me to leave, I'll get up and leave. If you want me to. I know I'm going through a lot, but I'm trying to get this guy to help me. I don't think she's ran off with some other guy. I don't believe that. You can't make me think that. No. Yeah, so do I. I'll do exactly what you're telling me to do right now. You want me to get up and leave? Man, I don't think these people got vindictive just to skin me for no reason. Man, this is not their family. This is not. All right, thank you. He thinks y'all will fuck was what he thinks.
I don't know who he is.
Nick, my brother.
You don't know him?
No, I know it, but I'm not. He just said just to keep sitting up here, to give a statement, do an interview, whatever I got to do it. But he said, darn, just to keep letting them just beat you to death over this right here. Just ask what you got to ask and let me know.
And you tell me.
You see what I mean, he knows more about this than I do.
Snow calmly resets the room, but is not vague about where they stand.
And have I told you that I'm for you?
Yes, you have.
I said, what did I say? My job is to find Crystal, right?
That's right.
However that happens, my job is to find her. Whether I find her hopefully alive and well and safe somewhere or not, my job is to find her. If I don't find her alive and well, my job is to prosecute the person that did something.
That's right.
If that turns out to be you, my job is to prosecute you. If that turns out to be someone else, my job is to prosecute them, to gather evidence for a lawyer, a prosecutor to prosecute them. I don't know whether that person will be you or not. Well, did I not tell you when you come in here and sit down today that right now you're the main person of interest?
Yes, that's right.
And I explained to you the reason that you're the main person of interest, right? You're the last person to see her alive, right? And I went through your timeline with you and explained to you that there's gaps in your timeline, right? Be it good, bad, or indifferent, you can't remember some things about Saturday, you can't remember some things about Sunday. That's not a judgment against you, that's just a fact. I am simply a fact finder. If you want to go, you may go at any time you wish to. I would never dream of stopping you, didn't tell you had to stay. If you want to bring a lawyer in and answer questions with a lawyer, you're welcome to do that. I'd have been asking you the very same questions in front of your lawyer that I asked you today. So that being said, you're free to take Nick's advice if he wants you to leave. I don't really have any more questions with you. I was just going to tell you where we go next.
Brooks left the interrogation still as the main person of interest in Crystal's disappearance. A week later, on July 15th, police brought Brooks' brother Nick Hauk in for questioning. He is there voluntarily and has already testified at the grand jury that morning, and is willing to continue talking under oath. They ask him about Brooks and Crystal's relationship.
What do you know about them? Their relationship. What do you know about their relationship?
I mean, they didn't really argue or anything in front of me, if that's what you're getting at. They seem pretty happy to me.
What about
Well, there's one example I can think of. I think there's been times when Brooks said that, I think sometimes she complained that, maybe he treated his son better than her kids or something like that, but that's about the only thing that really stands out.
So how often would you see your brother? I know you said you pass him on the street and that's about it, but how many times a year would you see your brother?
If I need a tool or something like that to borrow from him, I may see him, but I couldn't really put a number on it.
Okay.
I've had the rental properties now for 4 or 5 years. I've got most of the tools I need, but every once in a while he does have something, that I need, or vice versa.
It sounds like there's minimal interaction between the brothers, but it has been 10 days since Crystal has disappeared, and detectives know more than Nick thinks they know. They press him on his knowledge about the disappearance.
So you don't remember the last time that you had seen Crystal. How about when did you find out Crystal was missing? When do you remember finding out?
Within a couple of days.
Okay.
How did you find out?
I don't know if I saw it on TV or... Yeah, I really don't know. I don't know if Brooks had mentioned it or I saw it on TV. It was all over Facebook and everything. It's everywhere. On the national news.
This is for all intents and purposes your sister-in-law,
Mm-hmm.
and she's missing. Do you and your brother just not talk to that extent that he?
That's kind of bad, isn't it?
But he never called you and told you she was missing, or nobody else in your family called and told you that she was missing, or
Called and asked, had you seen her?
Yeah.
Was it unusual for her to take off like that, or?
I know Brooks said she'd take off to her, I think her mom's before, but I didn't know anything about that either. So.
I know when you get in baby mama drama, you try to stay out of it, but you would think if he was really, concerned that he would, hey, my brother's a police officer, he knows what to do, let me call him and see what's going on.
Yes, it's not like that.
Okay.
Detectives move to the call he made during Brooks's interrogation.
Did you make a phone call to him when the SO was interviewing him?
Yes, I hear.
And kind of got a little spat on the phone, or it seemed like that to some people. What did you call it?
Just basically, Brooks is a really cooperative guy, and obviously at this point you want to be cooperative, but you also want to protect yourself. And I think at a time like this right here, obviously he wouldn't be thinking exactly straight. Mm-hmm. So I just wanted to make sure that he was kind of, protecting himself while that he cooperated with law enforcement, and so I didn't want him to. It's just easy to get things confused and stuff, and so.
Well, you said yourself he's a cooperative guy and you trust him, and to know that he's not involved in this, then what reservations would you have about him talking?
Well, for one, the guy that's interviewing him has openly admitted that he lies in court.
Okay.
So, that kind of bothered me a little bit that John was doing it, but, that's just the way it is,
He'll go on to explain why he called him in the first place, but one of the detectives detects something that doesn't add up.
So you talked to him on that date, but he was having an interview after you called him.
I think I called him once. I think the task force guys had his phone, and then at some point I guess they gave him the phone back, and then I got hold of him. But he'd been up here several hours. It wasn't like I just interrupted right from the very beginning. I thought, what the hell are they doing? I've asked him the same questions over and over. I thought you guys got done.
How did you know he had been up here for several hours?
I'm up here. I know that you didn't know. I'm up here in this interview with the detective.
How did you know he had been up here for several hours?
I guess I think he called me.
Okay, so he called you before and said, hey, I'm going to the PD, I'm getting ready to get in. And what did you tell him at that point?
I said, we're going to be cooperative, Say what you mean and mean what you say, and just, do the best you can.
So you didn't tell him you need to get out of there, or you don't trust these folks up here?
No, I said go ahead and finish your narrative, or whatever it is, your written statement that you're giving them, but just just watch what you're doing, be sure you're thinking clearly and cooperate and roll on with it.
I'll do exactly what you're telling me to do right now. You want me to get up and leave?
Detectives are done with the soft questions and move on to the meat of the interrogation.
So do you remember going out to the farm the evening of July the 8th?
I don't, but I very easily could have been out there.
Right. That was incidentally the same night that your brother was. I think the same night your brother was interviewed by police.
Yeah, Wednesday, July. You said there was cameras out there on that house.
Mm-hmm.
What if the cameras would have caught your car following Brooks?
Wouldn't
Right out to the.
Wouldn't surprise me.
But you said generally, you would just go out to the farm and you would just meet him there. On this occasion, you all both.
Well, usually I don't meet him there. I mean, he's just out there doing his own thing, and then I go out there and do my own thing. I mean,
if that's what happened that night, it would have been just perfect timing that you were following right behind him, that you just so happened to meet him in the farm.
I see what you're saying.
Yeah. So think back. Was there a time that you all both went out there at the same time for a specific reason?
Not that I recall.
So it just would have been coincidence that your car was following right behind his truck when it passed by that camera going to the farm?
Yeah, that's happened before.
Mm-hmm. So this night in particular, it would have been, you would have left after dark. Y'all came together and you would have left after dark. Do you remember that night?
Easily could have.
Okay. I mean, do you remember it?
No, really, I don't.
Okay. Do you remember? Were you all in the skid house? Were you at your mom's talking?
No, I mean, I can't even remember what he was doing. I mean, it was the 8th, it's the 15th. I don't.
I mean, do you remember being out there with him at the farm that evening?
I think I remember seeing him out there.
Okay, so you didn't. You're saying you didn't intentionally follow him out there, and did you all leave? Do you remember leaving together?
Mm-mm.
Why did he leave earlier? Or you leave earlier? Do you remember?
I don't have any idea.
Did you leave first or did he leave first?
I don't know.
But you remember, I mean, it's just been a week ago.
Mm-hmm.
Driving down Pascal Ballard, your car behind his truck. I mean, you got to turn into the farm there. You remember? Can you go back and put that in your head, just driving down that road and you see your brother in front of you? What happened after that?
I can't.
Let's go back. You remember talking to your brother on the phone when he was up here, right?
Mm-hmm.
What did you do after you got off the phone with him?
I really don't know.
The brothers were caught on camera following each other to the farm on the same evening Brooks was interrogated about the disappearance of his girlfriend by police. But Nick doesn't recall the rendezvous. That's hard to believe, so the detective calls him on it.
Is it you don't want to remember or can you remember?
I can't remember.
Okay. Because this is what's happened. You made a phone call. He was up here. Within 2 hours of him leaving here, both of y'all were on the road, on the way to the farm, and the camera shows that. Time and date stamped. Phone call. Time and date stamped. You're out there. What went on while you were out there at the farm?
Yeah, if I knew, I'd tell you. I mean, I wish I could give you a detailed written statement. I don't know.
Nick is clearly not cooperating, so the detectives get more direct.
Is there any reason that there'd be any blood in the trunk of your freezer?
No reason at all.
So you don't transport any biological evidence on a regular basis? When was the last scene that you had somebody that was bleeding? How long has it been?
Oh, I mean, it's maybe a wreck or something like that. That's been a long time ago.
Okay. I mean,
I can tell you, there's no blood in the front of my cruiser. I can guarantee you that.
Okay.
Now, what about on anything that was in your trunk? Would there have been blood on anything that was in your trunk?
There's no way. Absolutely none.
Nick had previously already told the detectives he had a blanket in his trunk that he used to pad some furniture he was moving.
Now, what about the blanket that was in your trunk?
No way.
And you picked up that blanket when?
Don't know exactly. It was,
Estimate.
2, 3, 4 days after, they filed a missing person report.
Okay. So a couple days after they filed the missing persons reports, when you picked up that blanket, used it to haul the stuff, then put it back into your freezer.
I think so.
The detectives take a break, and when they return, they lay everything on the line.
there's a couple of things we want to just touch on here. The 10th, which would have been this past Friday.
The day after they came and took your car.
Okay.
About 8:30 p.m. that night, Brooks was, Keith Rogers was over at Brooks's house getting some clothes for the kids.
Mm-hmm.
And he said, Brooks got a call from you, talked for a second, and he hung up the phone and told your mom, hey, we got to go, Brooks, or Nick needs our help. You remember what that was about?
I have no idea.
Okay.
So you didn't call him on Friday and ask him for any kind of help?
I don't recall.
Is there anything that happened on Friday? You have I don't know, water line bust, anything like that you needed help with?
No.
You remember him coming over on Friday, just this past Friday, a couple of days ago?
I don't.
And you didn't meet with him on that Friday?
I'm not aware of.
Do you remember going over to Brooks's house and unloading some stuff out of your trunk into your mom's car?
I don't know that I've unloaded anything from Trunk Cruiser.
Now, there's you got neighbors that have, a spot that they can actually see your cars in the driveway, right? Over in that area. Now, a neighbor stated that they saw you taking something out of your trunk and placing it in your mom's car.
That didn't happen.
So that night after you called your brother and told him to leave, or told him to be careful or take care of yourself, et cetera, et cetera. Did you all meet up anywhere?
Not that I recall. I don't think we did.
That video does show you and your brother going out there, arriving at the same time, right behind each other.
Mm-hmm.
We got witnesses that said they remember passing both of you out on 49.
Mm-hmm.
One right, he was in front and you were behind.
We didn't make a special trip out there together, if that's what you're getting at. I mean,
that's just
a coincidence that y'all showed up at the same time to go out there.
And then y'all were out there till right at 11:22. You start out and stop down the end of the drive, back up, and then y'all leave out together.
What's that night you saying? I backed up, or
you started down the drive and stopped, and then backed back up the hill a little bit, and then I guess I don't know if you're waiting for him or what, but y'all left together.
I don't remember that, but
well, I mean,
we know you arrived together and you left together. We know that.
That police cruiser that Nick doesn't recall rendezvousing with his brother in was central to why they were there.
Which kind of leads us to the issue with the cruiser here. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
We got some issues.
Okay.
You're aware that when the cruiser was taken from you, that it was actually taken to the Kentucky State Police Forensic Central Laboratory.
That's what I assumed. Chief would have done.
Okay. So why it's at the lab? They have you ever heard of luminol? You ever been in any kind of criminal investigation?
Yeah.
All right. Do you know what luminol is used for?
To find blood.
Okay. Or other
bodily fluids.
Uh-huh.
Okay. So we all excrete bodily fluids, sweat, vomit, anything, saliva. All that is what would fluoresce. Why would your trunk look like a Smurf if they sprayed it? Why would it fluoresce?
It looked like Chernobyl. There's a couple spots in your trunk and that blanket, just lit up like Chernobyl.
Why would that?
There's like won't be any blood in the trunk.
Okay, well, not say blood. I'm talking about other bodily fluids.
I don't have blood. There shouldn't be any bodily fluids in the trunk.
There's only one way bodily fluids can get into the trunk. That's if a body's nearby, right?
That's what I would assume.
Okay. Or unless, somebody puked in your trunk or something like that.
I don't think that happened.
Don't think that's the case. So.
Somebody peed in your trunk or...
No. So why would that be if that blanket, when they looked at it to lab?
I've got no explanation for that. I don't have, none whatsoever.
Did your brother ever call you and say that he'd done something to Crystal?
No, he did not.
Because here's the case. Case is, you're a police officer, we're police officers. Okay. We all know how that this job works. You know, I don't believe in coincidence after having this job. I don't know if you still do or not.
Not much.
I don't, because you know that when somebody is sitting here talking to us and telling us that everything's a coincidence, and we have either physical evidence or video or something to prove that that's not the fact, we kind of stop believing in coincidence. Yeah, that's the case of where we're at right here. You know, there's too much linking you and him leaving when he leaves the police department, going down the road, both arriving together, both leaving together. There is some reason why you all went out to that farm. We're not asking you hard questions here as far as, I'm not asking you, did you pull in at 7:22 p.m. on the other night? No. I'm asking you, hey, last week, on Wednesday, a week from today, do you remember going out to the farm? Do you remember arriving with your brother? Do you remember leaving with your brother? What did you do while you were out there? Those are hard questions.
And I don't remember that. Okay. I mean, I don't.
Nick continues to double down.
Is there any reason that her DNA is going to come back in your trunk? I'm 100% certain it won't. You're dead in the water.
Nick, this is the time, this is the place.
This is our one chance.
Now, Nick, if we find out that this stuff comes back in your trunk, or if we find a body, if a hunter finds that body pretty soon, assuming, you know, that they do, it's going to be a different game.
It doesn't work, and they go on another 20 minutes at the same stalemate. But they secure one last commitment.
You're wrong, I mean.
Well, you tell me that you're telling the truth, and that's what you're maintaining, right?
Most definitely.
And you're telling me you want to be cooperative. That's why you're here, right?
Yes.
Okay. What about taking a polygraph exam? You took one to become a police officer. I took one to become a police officer. Didn't you take one?
Yeah, I did.
Yeah, unless you're 100% sure.
I don't mind to take the polygraph. I mean, I really don't.
So you'd be willing to do that?
How'd you do on it? How would you do on it?
I think I'll pass it flying colors.
He did not.
I've had a chance to review your charts on both tests. That first test, you did not pass the test, and it's pretty clear to me that you haven't told me the complete truth today. And the questions you're having a problem with are questions about Crystal. And in particular, one about whether or not you know where she is right now. And I treat police officers in these circumstances like I would myself, so we're not going to go through all the interview interrogation nonsense if you and I are on the same page. But again, I'm also going to tell you the complete truth as we're sitting here. And it's no longer a matter of wondering, do you know anything about what happened? We're past that now. I'm talking to you man to man as a fellow law enforcement officer, that the time has come for you to think real hard about the rest of your life. You didn't pass this, and there's some other information there as well. So I guarantee you we're not going to water. All right. The FBI has unlimited resources.
Specifically, the investigator said that he failed questions regarding Crystal's current location and what happened to her.
When people are asked questions about a matter such as this, they immediately circle the wagons and start to, well, out of self-preservation, we all...
I mean, let me just cut you off. I mean, do we need to take this any further?
I would like to take it to the truth. That's the whole reason we're here.
Is the test, I mean, man, you're talking crazy.
Well,
I mean, you're talking crazy.
Is that your rehearsed response to what was going to happen today? Because it sure sounds like it.
After a certain point, he had had enough.
Well, you haven't been completely truthful about things. Not just kind of, haven't been completely truthful about a couple.
I've been 100% truthful.
Listen to what I'm saying.
You listen to what I'm saying. I've been 100% truthful.
Why are you yelling at me?
Well, because you're telling me I'm lying, and I know I'm not. I know the truth, you know? And I'm going 100% honest.
I know the truth.
With you, the grand jury, and everybody else I've spoken
No,
with.
you haven't. Here's what I'm getting. We just said
Yes, I have.
No, you haven't.
I most definitely have. And if you don't want to believe it, that's your issue. It's not mine.
It's not just me. I showed you.
Dude, I don't give a goddamn what your fucking computer said. Okay?
I think you do.
I'm telling you that I have been 100% honest with you.
Is this how you act? Does this act this way towards Crystal?
Well, somebody... Is this how I act toward Crystal? Yeah. I act toward people that accuse me of lying when I'm not lying.
Did she accuse you of lying?
No, I didn't know Crystal.
Then why are you getting so angry?
Because you're calling me a liar.
No, I'm just calling you a liar.
Okay? I don't like it when people call me a liar.
Polygraphs aside, law enforcement was convinced of Nick's involvement at some level, so they started giving him a closer look. They wanted to talk to Amber Bowman, Nick's girlfriend at the time. If anyone could account for where Nick was, when he came home, or whether his normal routine changed, it would be her. She would ultimately share that Nick, had left home the morning of July 3rd. She tried calling him 15 times over the 24 hours surrounding Crystal's disappearance, and he never answered. And he also never came home. She also said that Nick had told her that he'd be working on a specific property, but the property hadn't been touched, and his phone was turned off from July 2nd through July 4th. Remarkable for anyone, inexcusable for a police officer expected to be reachable. Separately, and regardless of any role in the crime itself, Nick would soon be fired from the police department for making that call to Brooks, which investigators viewed as interference in the investigation. By then, Nick's relationship with Amber had fallen apart. Brooks, on the other hand, appeared to be moving on just fine. He had another girlfriend, and in a bizarre twist, her name was Crystal as well. It is unclear whether she was the same woman Brooks had cheated with before Crystal Rogers' disappearance, but her family did not appreciate the cruel irony. And while law enforcement kept widening the investigation, Tommy Ballard was still taking matters into his own hands. From the moment Crystal's car was found abandoned on the side of the Bluegrass Parkway, he had made up his mind that he was going to keep pushing until he found out what had happened to his daughter. So while law enforcement kept working the case, Tommy had been building one of his own. He had accumulated boxes of tips, made maps by hand, tracked down surveillance footage himself, talked to anyone willing to talk, posted publicly, and followed whatever leads seemed worth chasing.
We come out every day, hoping we'll find something.
Months into the ordeal, the family was putting up signs desperate to keep the word out that they were still looking for their daughter. But even something as basic as that became its own battle. A friend of the Ballard family saw someone stealing the signs, accumulating a whole stash of them in the backseat of her car. Sherry knew exactly who the woman was, because she was a teacher who had taught one of her other children. So Sherry called her.
I just told her, I said, can you explain to me why you did that? Just give me a reason. She actually told me, I'm tired of Crystal. So when she said that, it just blew me away.
As Tommy kept digging, one detail began to stand out more than the others. A white Buick. 2 raccoon hunters reported seeing a white Buick near the Hauk farm on the night Crystal disappeared. A Dollar General manager also reported seeing a white car near Crystal's abandoned Impala on the Bluegrass Parkway. On April 28, 2016, Tommy made a public post asking whether anyone had seen the white Buick or knew who it belonged to. Then, just 4 days after Tommy's post, the Buick had been sold. But that transaction created a trail that investigators could follow. Police had tracked down the Buick and found out who sold it. Her name was Anna Whitesides, and she just so happened to be Brooks' grandmother. Nick had helped facilitate the sale, part of which was caught on surveillance. The prompt sale after Tommy's post was already highly suspicious, but when investigators searched the vehicle, they found even more red flags that raised their suspicions. A hair was found in the trunk that was similar in characteristics to Crystal's profile when compared to her hairbrush, though no DNA profile could be extracted from it. A cadaver dog alerted to the trunk, but a blood spray test came back negative. None of that gave investigators a clean answer, but none of it made the Buick or its connection to Brooks go away either. At the same time the criminal investigation was moving forward, the Ballards were dealing with another painful reality. Brooks had cut off their access to Eli, forcing them into court to fight for custody and grandparent visitation. They would be embroiled in the battle for years. By that point, the people in Brooks' inner circle were starting to draw serious attention, and the next major step in the case happened 2 months later behind closed doors, in a grand jury hearing. At that hearing, Brooks' 82-year-old grandmother, the owner of the white Buick, invoked her Fifth Amendment right to not testify. They assume she had something to hide. Another person called to testify was a man named Danny Singleton. Danny had called Brooks on the morning of July 4th, just after Crystal went missing. At first, Danny looked like just another person who worked for Brooks, who might help fill gaps in the timeline. But his testimony didn't hold up, and he ended up actually being indicted on 38 counts of perjury for lying to that grand jury about facts related to the case. And it was while he was spending time in jail for that indictment that he dropped info that took everyone by surprise. While he was in custody, law enforcement interviewed him again, and this time he had a name to drop, specifically Rosemary Hauk, Brooke's mother. He told investigators that in the weeks before Crystal disappeared, Rosemary came to a job site and asked Danny if he knew anyone who could get rid of Crystal. He said he told her no and didn't tell anyone at the time, but after Crystal vanished, that conversation took on a completely different meaning. But Danny had credibility issues. For starters, he was in jail when he made the claim. And why had he not mentioned it up until that point, nearly a year after the disappearance? Danny stuck with his claim from that point forward and would also get support. In addition to Danny's claim that Rosemary asked him if he knew of anyone who could get rid of Crystal, a second witness claimed that after Crystal's disappearance, Rosemary commented that Crystal should have disappeared long before she did, and that now the child would be raised right. Also, just like Nick's phone, investigators found that Rosemary's phone also went dark during the key time period. They believed that she may have been using another phone. The case had been taking on a life of its own, with new witnesses continuing to surface, phone records going dark, and a mom shopping for a hitman. But none of it prepared anyone for what came next. On November 19th, 2016, Tommy Ballard was killed. He was on his property with his 12-year-old grandson near the same stretch of the Bluegrass Parkway where Crystal's car had been found when he was shot and killed. Tommy and Sherry Ballard had been inseparable, and her husband's death was the second devastating blow in less than a 2-year span. She commented, "You know, my husband helped me get through this, and I don't have him here to do that, so it's harder." Tommy's father, Crystal's grandfather, reflected just how deeply his family had been shattered.
They were two good human beings, and they didn't deserve what they got. It's just hard to put it behind us. We'll never put it behind us. Tommy'll always be there in Crystal.
Police initially treated Tommy's death as a hunting accident, but that would change. The FBI later ruled his death a homicide, supported by the circumstances at the scene, including trees that had been freshly cut with a saw, creating what appeared to be a shooting position about 72 yards away. The shooting appeared to be planned, deliberate, and set up in advance. Tommy was now a victim at the center of his daughter's tragic story. The question was no longer only who had made Crystal Rogers disappear, but possibly how far they'd go to cover it up.
He wanted to find his daughter. That's all he wanted. And evidently he was getting too close to finding her. And it wasn't no deer hunter. They had to get rid of Tommy because he was finding out too much.
That it was an accidental shooting?
No. I've been told it wasn't accidental, and I know the moment I got the phone call that it wasn't accidental. The police told us we're dealing with some very dangerous people, to be careful, and my husband was being followed. He told me that before, but we had to do what we had to do to find my daughter. And
if the Ballards had not already been put through enough, signs supporting them started being stolen again, this time by someone they were even more familiar with.
Rogers disappeared 2 years ago, and in November, her father was shot and killed. These Standing with the Ballard signs were created to show support for the family. Well, a few weeks ago, the signs started disappearing from places like this Circle K gas station. Well, now police and family members believe they know who is responsible. Last week, surveillance video from the gas station led to an arrest. Nelson County Sheriff's detectives arrested Crystal Maupin on Friday. And according to this arrest warrant, the video shows her getting out of her car and taking the sign. Ballard says Maupin is dating Rogers' former boyfriend, Brooks Hawk, who happens to be the only suspect named in the disappearance.
why wouldn't she help us? Why wouldn't they give us all the support if he is so innocent as he says he is?
She pleaded guilty to the charges, but avoided jail time by agreeing to stay out of trouble and not have any contact with the victim's family. And the sign ordeal was still not over. The family would have to fight city officials who had also been removing their signs. The city was reportedly worried that the constant reminders of a missing woman would look bad for Bardstown, especially with the Bourbon Festival coming up. Sherry found stacks of the support signs in the garbage bins on city property, reportedly removed by city code enforcement. At a city board meeting, a board member reasoned that, while she sympathized with the Ballards, she said that that's not what we really want everybody to see when they come. Over the years, the case would remain active, with multiple searches of Brooks' properties, home, and family farm taking place. The FBI would take over the investigation in 2020, but for the most part, the case seemed stuck. Crystal was still missing, Tommy Ballard was dead, and the same names kept recirculating. The case couldn't seem to move beyond that. Until 2023, over 7 years later, when investigators revisited the details of the case. A special prosecutor was assigned, and one name that surfaced was one investigators had heard before: Steve Lawson. His name had originally come up back in Brooks' House interrogation, when Brooks had called him on the spot.
The other night you called me late at night. Can you remember what you asked me or what you were after? I can't remember.
Yes, sir, I can. I called and asked you for them numbers for a house.
Years later, that 12:07 a.m. call from Steve on the very night Crystal disappeared would take on new significance. As investigators dug deeper, they concluded that Steve had also played a role in her disappearance. They quietly indicted him, and that pressure eventually led him to cooperate with law enforcement. With the details he provided, the case takes off. He tells investigators that Brooks had approached him and said that he wanted his wife gone. Steve didn't want any part of it. He said he told Brooks that he had the wrong guy and recommended a man named Charlie Girdley instead, someone with a much tougher reputation. Steve also implicated his son, Joey Lawson. Both Joey and Stephen Lawson worked for Brooks. Steve acknowledged that he and Joey moved Crystal's car. He added that the 12:07 call to Brooks was to let him know that the task of moving the car was complete. From there, other people surfaced to corroborate and fill in more of the blanks. One of them was Stacy Kramer, a former Houck employee. She said Steve Lawson talked about a woman with 5 kids that he and Brooks needed to take care of. Rebecca Greer, another witness, said Joey talked about moving a car. Taken together, it was enough for investigators to finally move in. Joey Lawson was arrested in September of 2023, but nearly 8 years had passed since Crystal had disappeared, and Joey's life had changed dramatically in that time. In 2021, a motorcycle accident had left him paraplegic and confined to a wheelchair. He was charged with conspiracy to commit murder and tampering with physical evidence. 3 weeks later, Brooks was arrested as well, charged with murder and tampering with evidence. 3 months later, Steve Lawson would also be arrested and charged with conspiracy to commit murder and tampering with evidence.
If I could get close to him, I better be the law hold me back. One thing I can say, because the son of a don't need to be on this earth if he had anything to do with Crystal, and I know he did.
All 3 men pleaded not guilty. By then, investigators had laid out a fuller theory of what they believed happened to Crystal Rogers on the night she disappeared. Based on phone data, they believe that after Crystal was killed, Brooks left the Houck farm around 11:55 p.m., then traveled to the parking lot of the Old Kentucky Home campground, where he waited, while his accomplices pulled off the next step. They believe Steve and Joey Lawson then picked up Crystal's Impala from a subdivision that Brooks had been working on. The plan was for Joey to drive it to an unknown destination, but he got a flat tire along Bluegrass Parkway and abandoned it there. Steve picked him up from there, and the two left. Police said they had moved the driver's seat forward to make it look like Crystal had been the one driving, unaware of how she normally positioned her seat. At 12:07, Steve called Brooks to tell him the job was done, and Brooks answered and said okay. He then left the parking lot he was holding at and went home, where he remained for the rest of the night. Investigators did not claim to know which of the men physically killed Crystal, only that all 3 were involved in her murder. That was the theory investigators planned to put in front of the jury, but it still left one obvious question. Why did Crystal Rogers need to die? The clearest motive prosecutors pointed to was that Crystal was getting ready to leave Brooks, and that Brooks did not want to lose time with Eli, or face the financial fallout that could come with custody and child support. Investigators would also confirm that Brooks had been seeing another woman before Crystal vanished, contradicting his claim that he had been faithful during the relationship. For the rest of the Houck family's suspected involvement, the motive was less clear, but investigators surmised that it was some mix of loyalty to Brooks, hostility toward Crystal, and a strong interest in keeping Eli inside the Houck family. But even as that theory was taking shape, the case was still growing, and some of the next pieces came from inside the Houck home. IRS agents found 3 hidden voice recorders in Rosemary Houck's bedroom. The family had been recording their statements to law enforcement to keep track of what was being said. Several of the recordings were of grand jury hearings. Recording grand jury hearings is illegal. In one recording, Brooks' sister Rhonda McElvoy said that she didn't want to take a recorder into the grand jury room because she was worried it would beep. Brooks replied that she had to take it in because Nick wanted to hear her testimony. Prosecutors believed the family was trying to cover its tracks. Then in the separate but related case of the murder of Tommy Ballard came another development, once again leading back to the Houcks. Prosecutors sent an undercover agent to purchase a rifle from Nick Houck, who was using a fake name to sell it. The gun matched the same caliber used in Tommy's death, and met 4 of the 5 other match criteria they were examining. But the tests would ultimately come back inconclusive. The fact that Nick used a fake name to sell the rifle was especially damning, and suggested he knew exactly what he was getting rid of and why. Before any of the 3 men's trials were underway, the chaos was already playing out in open court. In August of 2024, a routine pretrial scheduling hearing took a sharp turn when Stephen Lawson interrupted the judge mid-session to announce that he was done with his attorney.
Mr. Lawson, why are you holding your hand up for?
Need to ask you a question, sir. Need to probably sit there, stand up and say something to the court, sir.
Okay, well, what is it you're wanting to say? But let me remind you, everything that you're saying here is being recorded and it could be used against you. Do you understand? Okay, well, what is it that you're wanting to say?
It's come to my attention. I don't think I'm trying to knock nobody. My attorney's doing his job for me anymore. I can't use this, I don't know what you call it. It's counsel anymore, sir.
I'm sorry, I didn't understand.
I can't use this counsel anymore, sir.
Okay, are you saying that you're wanting a different attorney?
Yes, sir. That's exactly what I'm saying, sir.
Okay.
I'm sorry that I didn't make myself clear. I apologize.
Okay. Are you able to afford it?
Not right this second. No, sir.
Okay. So you're wanting to discharge Mr. Lavin, is that right?
Yes, sir, I am.
He fires his attorney, Ted Levitt, claiming that he had been meeting secretly with Brooks' attorneys behind his back. The judge checks to see if the prosecution has any objection, and they have a surprise of their own.
Does the Commonwealth have any objection to that?
No, sir, we do not. As a matter of fact, Judge, we have serious concerns about whether Mr. Lawson has had conflict-free counsel in his representation.
She said they had learned from a jail call between Steve and his family that he claimed he had fired Lavitt weeks earlier, so they were surprised to see Lavitt still representing him. She goes on to describe how Lavitt does indeed appear to have been secretly working with the enemy. And at this point, Brooks Houck is indeed the enemy, since Steve had flipped and was cooperating against him in hopes of getting immunity. She said that based on similarities between the 2 defendants' motions, they believed that Lavitt was feeding Brooks' lawyer the exact details of what Steve told investigators, essentially sabotaging his client Steve in the process. Finally ready for trial, prosecutors decided to not put every defendant in front of one jury at one time. Steve Lawson was tried separately, and Brooks Houck and Joey Lawson were tried together. Steve was tried separately because the judge believed his grand jury testimony could unfairly prejudice the case against the other 2. Brooks and Joey were tried together because the court didn't think the overlap between their cases created that same level of prejudice. Steve Lawson would be tried first. During his trial, one of the clearest glimpses into how ugly the fallout had become came in a call between Steve Lawson and his own mother. She asked him directly, "Did Brooks ask you to kill her?" He responded, "That's exactly what he said. He said, "I want her gone." His mother was angry. She told him, "You could have saved her. You knew for 8 years you could have saved that girl's life." Stephen Lawson was tried, convicted, and sentenced to 17 years in prison.
Therein to remain for a period of 17 years upon his conviction to conspiracy to commit murder, 5 years for tampering with physical evidence.
The trial for Brooks Houck and Joey Lawson would take place the following month, in June of 2025. Prosecutors had built a case packed with circumstantial evidence. Between Brooks being at the family farm for hours on July 3rd, even though he left that out of his statement, to the phone calls to Rosemary, Nick, Steve, and everyone else's reported involvement, the prosecution felt they had a strong case against Brooks and Joey. But there was still no body, no murder weapon, no clear crime scene, and no direct forensic evidence tying Brooks or any of the other suspects directly to the missing mother. When the trial finally began in June of 2025, it was unlike anything Nelson County, and arguably even Kentucky, had ever seen. Nearly a decade had passed since Crystal Rogers disappeared, and public interest in the case had only intensified. Because of the extraordinary publicity, the proceedings were moved to a venue about an hour and a half away, and even jury selection was televised. It became one of the most heavily watched legal events in Kentucky history. Supporters showed up in force, many wearing Crystal's favorite color, pink, in a visible show of support. Once trial began, the two sides were selling very different versions of the same case. Prosecutors told jurors to use their common sense and see the pattern in the evidence. The defense claimed the case was shaped by enormous pressure from Crystal's family, the media, and the public to find someone responsible, and that Brooks quickly became the target of that pressure. Their argument was that, over time, investigators replaced facts with assumptions and used coercion, manipulation, and weak witnesses to force a theory onto Brooks and Joey. Even after years of searching, they stressed, police still had no direct evidence showing how or where Crystal was killed. From there, the trial turned on which moments the jury believed, and the prosecution had no shortage of witnesses.
He said they were talking about a girl that he had to take care of. There was, a time where I asked why Brooks didn't leave Crystal with all the fighting and arguing, and he said, because I won't lose Eli.
Had you ever known Nick to turn his phone off for a period of 24 hours?
No.
Steve came up to me and said something about Brooks wanted to get rid of his old lady. He wasn't the man for the job that I was.
Okay, and what did y'all do the next day with the car?
We cleaned it out.
Okay, and what did you find in the car?
We found needles, tourniquets, blankets, a bag, a big, large garbage bag of soured, wet clothes.
Now, where was that at?
It was in the trunk.
Okay.
And we also found a Louisville Slugger bat.
Judge, he also made statements that week. Joey did about burying the car, about pulling her teeth, shaving her hair, because that's all the Hogs couldn't eat. Now, did you hear anything else from Joey that night?
He said he would shave their head and pull their teeth and the Hogs would do the rest.
I overheard them talking about moving a body at the Houck farm.
Do you remember any conversation you had about Joey about Krista's car that week?
He said he would bury it with a skid screw. Nobody ever found it.
All right.
The more witnesses who surfaced, the more the question became how they thought they were going to get away with this. The prosecution also presented some of the Houck family's secret recordings, including one where Brooks and his mother whispered about Nick's patrol car and the blanket in the trunk.
And I know the defense attorney can say whatever they want to. There's no reason, if it's not nefarious or if it's not sinister, there's no reason in the world to whisper.
So they took his car from him?
Is there anything on it?
The defense countered the state's case, emphasizing that there was no body, no murder weapon, and no direct physical evidence. The trial would last 10 days. Once the cases were made, both sides rested and deliberations began. After about 4 hours of deliberations, the jury emerged and asked for a whiteboard and to see Charlie Girdley's testimony again, his testimony about the teeth and the hogs. It wasn't a good sign for the defense, who considered Charlie Girdley a non-credible witness and were hoping the jury would discount his testimony. About an hour after that, the jury returned with their answer. Both Joey and Brooks were found guilty. Joey's attorneys contended that their client was essentially collateral damage in the high-profile case, saying the state's real mission was to convict Brooks, and that Joey was simply swept up in that effort despite the glaring disparity in the evidence against the two men, including the fact that the trial was already 3 full days in before Joey's name was even mentioned. The Ballard family, seated behind the press area and holding hands, broke into audible sobs. The Houck side stayed mostly still, and Rosemary Houck got up and walked out. Brooks obviously didn't take it well either. He made several jailhouse calls after the verdict, lamenting about being convicted, and still framing himself as the real victim in all of this.
You know how hard it is thinking that you're coming home to see your son and then be yanked out from under you? I'm telling you, this cannot be the reality, but well, I guess I just need to quit.
I agree with you. It seems impossible. Don't even.
I'm just in denial. That's what it is. That's exactly what it is. I just can't see this being the end of me. I never would have. You can't even dream something like this up, you know.
I know.
You know, and I wonder if they got acquitted, if both of the other defendants got acquitted, I wonder if that would give me a new trial. You know what I mean? I don't know how that would work, but
I don't see how those lies got approved. I don't understand.
So many people. I don't know. It's just.
I think social media has a lot to do with it too.
You think what?
Social media.
Well, it may have, but you know, the jury is what done the damage. Being in a high-profile case, nobody wants to touch it. You know, they don't want to. How many people are jumping up and down and complaining to all the city officials and the mayors and the governors and all that? Nobody wants to. I mean, that's what got us here. That's what got me indicted. The governor and the attorney general assigning a special prosecutor to get this done, solved, and over with. They're sick of it. You understand what I'm saying? It's the opposite of versus overturning something. If they wanted the conviction to shut all those people up that are calling them.
Even though now convicted, he was still trying to control things from jail. He told family members to start selling property and equipment before Crystal's family could reach those assets in civil court.
If he's got some investors that want to buy some stuff, and if he does, try to put some groups of stuff together. All the stuff down there at the barn, Alex can look all that stuff up on YouTube or on things. He knows how to run the SkyTrack anyways, but he can look that stuff up, see what that stuff's worth, and I'd like to go ahead and sell that. That farm's nothing's owed on that. I don't know if that'll be protected in the civil suit, but, in the next year or something going through the court system, they're going to take everything that I've got.
With Brooks owning 83 properties worth around $8.5 million, he had plenty he wanted to protect. The calls led to a judge stepping in and freezing much of his property. Brooks also talked about his girlfriend, Crystal Maupin, during that same hide the assets call with his mother, the same girlfriend who was convicted for stealing the signs.
I want what's best for her too, I want what's best for her. And she deserves that, she deserves that. And I don't want her to stay with me because she feels obligated. She can still have a really good life, I'm not saying nothing, I'm not taking nothing away from her.
Yes.
I love her to death, but she's got the opportunity to reposition, relocate, and move on and meet somebody that she can have a wonderful life with. As much as that hurts me and as much as that I want what's best for her, and I love her enough to let her go.
Yeah.
I don't want to do that, but
Yeah, I know.
Just before his time is up, he ends the call with a show of concern. Sort of.
and I'm telling you, I want you to take good care of your health so that you can help me. Don't you do nothing, don't you do nothing that's going to hurt your health. You understand what I'm saying?
Thank you for using
I
Secure
need
It.
you.
Goodbye.
With the verdicts in, the sentencing hearing was next, including victim impact statements. The court first heard from Crystal's daughter, sister, then her brother.
You're Crystal's daughter, correct? You testified in the trial, right?
Yes.
Is there anything you would like the court to know prior to sentencing as it relates to how this has affected you, and anything you would like the court to consider in sentencing?
Yes, I have a paper.
Okay, and you're soft-spoken, so you'll have to speak up a little bit, okay?
Okay.
Okay, go ahead.
So I would like to pick up where I left off on the centipedes crawling up my wall in the basement when I woke up. The basement you would never finish for me and my sister because you can't eject me now. I watched you shut my brother's head in the front door and leave him screaming on the porch when my mom wasn't home. You took my light bulb away because I accidentally left the light on when I left. I watched you take my door off because it got shut a little too hard. I accidentally shut the seatbelt in your door of your truck, and I remember you got so mad and you took the seatbelt and you tied it in a knot so I couldn't use it. You never cared about anybody but yourself. You say you love Eli so much, but if you really loved him, you wouldn't have murdered his mother. You wouldn't have took him from his siblings. I babysat him all the time, even when you were home. I watched him, and you just ripped him away from us, just like you did our mom. You also wouldn't have tried to replace his mother with somebody with the same name. You ruined his life, and now you will forever sit in a prison cell and think about how you ruined your son's life and how you murdered my mother. You are nothing but a lowlife. You took a mother of 5 children away. I know you don't care because that's just who you are. You have no heart, because if you did, you wouldn't have murdered your son's mother. I want you to know I will forever show up here to make sure you never get out. And for you lawyers, I want you to know you try to defend a man that murdered a mother and a guy who helped a mother that had children. She was amazing, mother. My mom didn't deserve any of this. My mom didn't get to see me go to high school, proms, graduate. She won't see me get married, have children. And if you all have children, which some of you do, you know how important that is to children, for their parents to be there and show up in those moments. She won't be here for any of those because the man you tried to defend murdered her. I hope you go to bed at night and remember who you tried to defend. That's all.
You walked through this town thinking you were untouchable, cocky, and arrogant. You walked around knowing you murdered people and thought you were going to get away with it. You were so close, right? Thought you had it. Thought you were untouchable. But you weren't. You are nothing but a coward. You and your whole family. We all know you and your family had something to do with my dad's murder. A coward who couldn't even face him. All because he wanted answers to bring his daughter home. You have ruined lives, but don't get satisfaction because you didn't ruin ours. You ruined yours, your sons, and your families. You get to spend the rest of your life in prison, right where you belong. But that didn't get you anywhere, did it? That college degree doesn't matter. You can try as many parenting programs as you want, but you'll never be a good father. You may provide for Eli, but you ruined his life. You can say to Rhonda, to yourself, and to your family that you want to give Eli the best life possible. But let's be honest, the best life would have been with his mom and siblings present. All because you didn't want to share Eli, because Crystal finally saw through your lies and who you really were, and she was leaving you. You are a terrible father. You took your child's mother away. You took his siblings from him, and let's be honest again, you, with the help of others, took his Peppa away too. You took his whole family away just to have him to yourself. The child you claim you love so much, one of the reasons you killed my sister, his mother, you Brooks, took all of that from him and destroyed his life. That's more than selfish. That's sick. You're a sick human being. Your mom says Crystal wasn't good enough. Well, let's be honest here. Your family wasn't good enough for her. Your mom's an evil woman who raised evil children. And like I said before, evil never wins. The truth always comes out. You can go through this whole entire appeal process, but you'll spend the rest of your life in prison. I hope you have the worst life possible, because that's what you deserve. You and your family. And one day, I'm sure your family will join you on that side. And I can't wait to see that day. Oh, and by the way, you were right about one thing. Me and my family will be at every parole meeting, fighting for Crystal. And we'll make sure we fight hard enough that you'll never spend another day outside of a jail cell. You get everything you deserve.
You've always rode around town and taunted us. You've always smiled at us. You've always confronted me. You've always come up to me, tried to speak, harass me, and everything. You've always smiled. But today, at this hearing here, I get to go home with my family, and you go to prison for the rest of your life, and I'll be the one that's smiling when I go home. I hope you enjoy your life in prison. And Joey, they can take you and wheel you out there to the dumpster, because that's about all you're worth. And that's all I gotta say.
Any questions? Sally, you can step down.
You can sit.
Any other witnesses?
Barbara Roby.
Barbara Roby.
Crystal's mother also delivered a blistering impact statement, which we'll get to in a moment. Once the remainder of the statements were read, the judge rendered his verdict. Brooks Houck was sentenced to life in prison plus 5 years. The judge noted that life without parole was not an option under Kentucky law for his charges. Joey Lawson was sentenced to a total of 25 years for his charges. Tragically, Crystal wasn't the first Ballard relative to become the victim of a homicide. In 1979, Tommy Ballard's sister and Crystal's aunt, 19-year-old Frida Shireen Ballard Barnes, disappeared while more than 7 months pregnant. Her remains were found 4 years later on a farm near the same stretch of the Bluegrass Parkway where Crystal's car would later be abandoned. Her estranged husband and another man were eventually convicted of her murder and sentenced to life in prison. Brooks Houck was 43 when the jury convicted him in July of 2025. He is serving his sentence at Green River Correctional Complex in Central City, Kentucky. At the time of sentencing, he was scheduled to be eligible for parole in 18 years, which would be September of 2043, at which time he would be about 61 years old. He has appealed his conviction, which is still pending as of the making of this video. Joseph Joey Lawson was 34 when he was convicted in July of 2025. He is serving his sentence at Little Sandy Correctional Complex in Sandy Hook, Kentucky. Sentenced to 25 years, he's required to serve 85% of that sentence before becoming eligible for parole, putting that date around 2042, when he will be about 52. After his request for a new trial was denied, he formally appealed to the Kentucky Supreme Court in April of 2026. Steve Lawson is serving his 17-year sentence at Lee Adjustment Center in Beattyville. His lawyers later moved to overturn the conviction or secure a new trial, arguing that he had been denied a fair trial. That effort did not succeed, and he is currently scheduled to be eligible for parole in 2038, when he would be about 66 years old. Both Rosemary and Nick Houck were named as unindicted co-conspirators during the 2025 trials, but neither had been charged. That changed just last month, in June of 2026, when Nick was arrested and charged with first-degree perjury. Authorities allege that the perjury occurred sometime between July 15th, 2015, his interrogation date, and August 16th, 2023, just before Brooks was indicted. Investigators haven't publicly revealed exactly what statement they believe was a lie. To date, it's the only criminal charge Nick has faced. He has not been charged for Crystal or Tommy's murders. When Nick appeared for his arraignment without an attorney, things quickly began to unravel.
Mr. Houck, were you able to get a hold of your attorney?
I did. He told me to go ahead and just proceed on without him.
The Commonwealth reached out.
directly to Honorable Wren, and he essentially said he's not been retained, and that's the reason he's not here.
He's going to be my attorney. This is something I can deal with without him here.
He's telling the Commonwealth he hasn't been retained, is what they're saying.
Okay. Yeah, he wants to figure out what you guys are getting at before he kind of makes a decision. So
He wants to know what you guys are doing. What now?
yeah, I've been charged with perjury, and I have no idea why you guys have charged me with that.
First of all, I don't charge people with perjury, so.
I'm just saying the state police or whoever involved.
Well, is he your attorney or not?
He's not today, but I mean, he's going to be. That's what I'm saying. We've talked several times, and he wants some information on the case to be able to make a decision.
Nick pleaded not guilty and was assigned a public defender. He remains free on bond pending his trial, which is scheduled for November 9th, 2026. Many speculate that by that time, his mother will join him in being charged. Crystal and Brooks' son Eli was just 2.5 years old when Crystal disappeared. By the time the case went to trial, the judge ruled it was not in the now 12-year-old's best interest to sit through testimony about his mother and father, so he was kept out of the courtroom. After Brooks was convicted, Eli remained in the care of Brooks' sister, Rhonda McElvoy, who had held temporary custody since 2023. Over the years, multiple family members fought in court over where he should be placed. In 2017, Sherry Ballard won the right to visit Eli every other weekend and on some holidays, but Brooks appealed, and those visitation rights were later taken away. In 2023, both of Eli's grandmothers, Sherry Ballard and Rosemary Hauk, fought for custody of Eli in court, but by 2025, the case had narrowed, and the final custody fight was between Rhonda McElvoy and Brooks himself. Brooks agreed to let his sister have full custody. Sherry Ballard was ultimately denied both custody and visitation. Crystal's family made clear that Eli's placement remained a painful part of the story for them. Sherry Ballard later said that over the last 10 years, she had lost not only a daughter and a husband to murder, but also a grandson to the legal system. Tommy Ballard's murder remains officially unsolved. No one has been charged, and a $50,000 reward is being offered in the case. While there has been compelling circumstantial evidence and long-running suspicion around possible ties to the larger Crystal Rogers case and Nick Hauk specifically, the investigation into Tommy's death remains open and unsolved. Despite the numerous searches for Crystal's body over the years, she has not been found, which means her family still has no place to bury her and no final answer to the most important question in the case. We hope we did justice to Crystal Rogers, Tommy Ballard, and the entire Ballard family. We'll leave you today with Sherry Ballard's victim impact statement to close this out with the final word that the case and Brooks Hauk deserve. Afterward, please consider tapping like and subscribe if you like how we covered this case and you'd like to see more. Thanks for watching.
Last but not least, thank you to everyone else that was involved in between, who without all of you, there may not have been a guilty verdict. Thank you to all of you for your hard work and your dedication to my daughter's case. Oddly, Brooks, I would like to thank you. I would like to thank you for not fixing my daughter's tire for her, because that was your first big mistake. And thank you for looking at me. When you thought you had planned the perfect murder, I guess you're not as smart as you think you are. I sit here and I try to make sense of what the last 10 years of my life have been like. I don't think I would ever have the words to explain that to anyone. I no longer live the life I used to live. The changes you have caused in my life, Brooks Hauk, is astronomical. I knew after a few interactions around you how fake you really were. I only wish my daughter could have seen it sooner. I remember one time when you got mad at me when you didn't come home to watch the kids like you promised Crystal you would do. But they were smart enough to call me when you didn't show up. I remember coming to the house and it was already getting dark and you had just got there. I was so upset and told you how I felt about you leaving those kids home alone. One of them being Eli, your own son, who was only around 2 years old at the time. You had the nerve to tell Crystal that I disrespected you. You have no idea how much I truly disrespect you today. I watched you treat my daughter with the most disrespect a man could ever treat a woman. I remember a time when you sat at my kitchen table for hours with her daddy, asking him how, and every question in the book on how to build a house. Never once did my husband get rude with you, not one time. Instead, he sat there for over 2 hours, tired and ready for bed, still answering all your questions. How much respect did you show Tommy Ballard? And let's not forget the reason you were at my house to begin with. The reason you were there is because you didn't show up on time again to pick up your child so Crystal could get to work on time. So she brought her kids to me. Your second big mistake was underestimating the love me and Tommy had for our daughter. Crystal was such a sweet and loving person. She was a great mother. She deserved so much more than you could ever have given her. For your mother to have the nerve, Rosemary Houck, to think that my daughter was not good enough for you is a joke. It's more than I can comprehend. It's truly unbelievable. Let's talk about the times you treated my daughter and her kids with such rude behavior. Leaving them in the dark when you would remove their light bulbs from their rooms because they forgot to turn off a light. They were kids. Taking the bedroom door off the hinges because they forgot to shut the door. Cutting off the water supply on purpose so they didn't have running water. And I know that because my daughter called me. Leaving my pregnant daughter sitting outside your driveway because you wouldn't give her a key to your house when she first moved in. Brooks, I listened to the phone calls you made while in jail, and you want people to feel sorry for you? You don't deserve that privilege. How pathetic is that? I also remember bringing the kids home from CCD class, and I would stop and get them pizza and a soft drink, and they would hide in their room because they told me you would eat it all. For 10 years, I have suffered the pain of losing my daughter. Never once have I seen you shed one tear, not one tear. Never once have I heard you say you were worried about where she was or what might have happened to her. You sat there worried more about your family's name than the woman you shared a child with that you supposedly cared about. For years, I took all of your arrogant and negative treatment when I saw you in public. Your sarcastic attitude that you would rub in my face, knowing I was fighting for visitation for my grandson, and I couldn't say anything because you always used it against me in court. I took all that with my head held high while I was dying inside. Every day I watched your family go on about their pathetic lives while mine was being ripped apart. I can say that the only thing I feel for you today, Brooks Houck, is contempt. I pity that you don't even have God in your life. Your brother Nick Houck, or am I supposed to call him Nicholas, mentions to you in your phone calls to him that you shouldn't worry because we're only here for a little while. Well, I can tell you that you better worry because when that little while runs out, you won't be answering to your mama, your brother, your sister, the courts, or any of those people. You will be answering to the most important person of all. So yes, you should be worried. I pity you mostly because you have lost a child, because I know how that feels. Maybe now you have a very small portion of the pain I have had for the last 10 years. The difference, though, is that you chose to lose your child. I had no say in losing mine. I miss my daughter every second of every day. I can say that one day I feel like I will see my daughter again. I'm not so sure you could say the same thing about your child. I pray that one day you will grow a heart and have the decency to tell me where my daughter is, so we can have a proper burial for her. You owe that much to your own son. And my daughter deserves that. Her kids deserve that. I do hope that every day you're incarcerated, you see my daughter's beautiful face. And you think about the evil you have committed and how many lives you have destroyed. I pray this haunts you for the rest of your miserable life. My daughter was so much better than what your mother made her out to be. I know for sure she would never have taught her children to grow up to become murderers. The depths of pain I have felt over the years is more than I think a human body could ever withstand. Still, I sit here today because all the pain that you have inflicted on me gave me that much more strength to prove how guilty you are and what a worthless human being you are. You didn't get Eli either because you chose to murder his mother, and now you will spend the rest of your miserable life in prison where you belong. You have tried to turn Eli against me because I have fought for justice for my daughter, his mother. One day, he will be old enough to figure out everything I am saying is true, and that you, Brooks House, is responsible for the death of my daughter. Brooks, you also mentioned that when you got the conviction, the only thing you and your partners in crime could come up with is that the jury knew more about this case. That's an insult to the man and woman who sit on that jury every day. I watch these people taking notes and asking questions, so their decision could be based on the facts and not hearsay. Have you ever considered that maybe just once people saw through all your lies you've been telling for the last 10 years? The day I met you at your truck, you knew exactly what happened to my daughter. You weren't concerned about her at all. Instead, you went about your daily life happy she was no longer in it. You, Brooks House, are narcissistic. You are so self-centered, and the only person you think about is yourself and your own needs at the expense of others. You thought you could break me down, leave me desperate for answers and closures, and just crumble. You are a bully. You try to classify others as inferior to you and unworthy, just like you did to Crystal. You thought your hostile humor was funny, just like when you switched the bullet out in Crystal's gun when you all were trap shooting, so it would kick back and bruise her shoulder. I didn't appreciate your so-called humor. How you found an attorney that would take your case and defend you is so hard for me to understand. Then again, we all heard about the money that you paid for just a witness. I guess the saying, money is the root of all evil, is true. And what about your mother, Rosemary Houck? There's another saying that's true. They say the apple doesn't fall far from the tree. I feel as much contempt for your mother as I do for you. She should set a good example for her children that a mother could be proud of. Instead, she taught her children hatred, greed, and evil behavior. Your mother, Rosemary Houck, is a true disgrace of what a mother really is. The real reason she didn't like my daughter was because she was not raised to be dishonest, greedy, or evil. How could she lead her children to the destruction and murder of my daughter? How could she steal a mother from 5 children? Even her own grandchild. She never even blinked an eye when her son was convicted of life in prison. I don't understand that. Did she honestly hate my daughter so much that she would sacrifice her own son? Please don't misunderstand what I'm saying, because I know, Brooks Houck, you had your own selfish reasons for murdering my daughter. Brooks, what about your selfish, lying sister, Rhonda Houck? She, too, is a disgrace to mothers around the world. I believe her and her entire family knows what happened to my daughter. Did you ever think of how my daughter felt when you murdered her? Did she feel any pain? Did you make sure Crystal knew what you were going to do to her? Did Crystal beg for her life, knowing she had 5 children to come home to and family that really loved her and depended on her? Where is my daughter? I can tell you, I've thought about these questions many days and many nights. I honestly don't know why I'm even asking you these questions, because I know you're not even man enough to own up to what you did to my daughter. I know your sister won't, by her actions and her lies on the witness stand when she was under oath. Not in one phone call that I heard did you mention that you were innocent, not one time. You show no feelings or empathy for my daughter. Your brother Nick mentions to you this is like a dream. Well, this has been a nightmare for me that you and your sick and evil family created for me and my family. You mentioned with your pathetic voice that you want to be brought up to your son, while at the same time you erase everything about my daughter from him. I can say that your dream has become like my nightmare, because I will never give up fighting for justice for my husband. He was a true epitome of what a real father is like. I will personally be at every parole hearing you will ever have, and I will bring an army with me if that's what it takes to keep you behind bars. You also mentioned you got convicted because of the mayor, the governor, and the attorney general. I can promise you that's not why you were convicted. You were convicted because you murdered my daughter. I pray you never see the light of day. I pray that you wear that turtle suit every day with no underwear. I pray you will only have your sick little plastic spoon. I pray you will always have to sleep on that mat on the floor. Oh, but I forgot, as you quoted in your interview, you are a full-blooded male. So you should be able to handle prison life with no trouble. I myself don't honestly see that happening, because you are a true coward. You murdered my daughter and then you hid behind all your pathetic lies. As far as your new girlfriend goes, you're not as smart as you think you are. You think she's been so loyal to you? Ask her about the initial CH. You think she loves you so much? Maybe you should ask Mommy to keep a real eye on her and what goes on while you're sitting behind those bars. Brooks, you mentioned you didn't understand the plan for your life. I can promise you this had nothing to do with God's plan. This has everything to do with the choices you made for your own life. I think it's about time you admit to that, and now you will suffer the consequences. Your third big mistake, Brooks House, was killing my daughter. Now you're going to pay the ultimate price while you sit behind bars watching the whole world just pass you by. I hope you enjoy every second of it. Brooks House, you may have received a lifetime of prison, but I received a lifetime of grief and pain. You deserve yours. I don't deserve mine. I hope you enjoy your new life in prison, because I feel like I've been there for the last 10 years of my life because of you. My only regret is that Kentucky doesn't have the death penalty. But then I think death is too good for you. Even if I never find my daughter, I know my daughter's with God, and that brings peace only He can give me. My memories of my husband and my daughter, you can never erase from my mind. I was very blessed with my time with them. I don't think you will be able to say the same about your family. Hell is not a place where one feels peace, and you and your whole family will be united there one day.